Hello, good evening, and welcome back to my channel. Right now, big update on immigration. So, here we go. Immigration is tearing Ireland's government apart. They're making an absolute mess of it. And I am all for the people to work in Ireland, so as long as they keep going on with these big, serious problems with the immigration, obviously for so long now they have a proper visa and they do things by the book. Obviously that's what they're stating about migrants now. Using international protection as an excuse to get here is wrong and should not be tolerated, basically. In conclusion to that, the whole issue of immigration and what to do about it is tearing the Irish government apart, basically. Update on that, the Fianna Fáil members of the cabinet are looking in despair at the Fine Gael Justice Minister Helen McEntee and the Integration Minister Roderick O'Gorman of the Greens, making an absolute mess of it, and many others, and infuriating the whole nation in the process. And thousands of Irish people here know that. Now, the new Taoiseach Simon Harris decided to get in on the act and made a big song and dance about getting rid of the tented village that had sprung up in Dublin city centre around the International Protection Office in Mount Street. Yeah, right, he doesn't do jack shit about any of it anyway. Government set to explore refurbishing disused buildings amid asylum seeker accommodation shortages. Oh, asylum seekers, not for the Irish. The Garda were sent in along with the city council staff and ordered to move the migrants on and clean up the mess caused by the makeshift campsite. Taoiseach said he was not going to tolerate shanty towns springing up around the capital. A few days later, the migrants and the tents returned, this time just around the corner from the IPO along the beautiful banks of the Grand Canal, much to the anger of the posh local residents. Well, it's no surprise, is it? They literally moved the problem around the corner and the powers that be in the government buildings are literally scratching their heads wondering what to do about it. Obviously the same solution that you used beforehand. Things got so bad and so embarrassing that the government would not issue a statement on its last outing in that evening when they just said they didn't have a clue what to say about it, apparently. Well, that's the Irish government for you, clueless. The truth is that this administration does not have a workable immigration policy, and now the chickens in the form of voter outrage are coming home to roost. That's what they are, chickens with no balls. It was soft on immigration, our former leader Leo Varadkar, Helen and Rod sometimes seemed like they were quite happy to let every Tom, Dick and Harry arrive in Ireland without documentation and no checks. That's been going on longer than people know anyway, so Taoiseach describes suggestions about Ireland wanting to join the Rwanda scheme as absolute satire, basically. McEntee warned 2 years ago Ireland would be attractive alternative for migrants due to UK Rwanda plan. Yeah, I don't see how. Some of the migrants could have criminal records, but it felt as if they didn't care less. Well, most migrants don't care less. They just want to get into the country and disrespect the whole Irish policy, procedure and the way of life of the Irish, and try to take things away from the Irish and from the country itself with a blatant disregard and lack of respect for the Irish community. The strategy then of dumping these poor people in every hotel in rural Ireland that they could get their hands on went down like a lead balloon with local people. The arrogance of Mr. McGorman and his top civil servants inflamed the situation further. There was no consultation with local communities whatsoever. But then these ministers for the last 2 years had the cheek to brand anyone who questioned their immigration policy, if that is what you call it, as right-wing sympathisers. They were so out of touch with public opinion from their Leinster House bubble, it was unreal. Now, in conclusion to that, apparently they're all for the people coming to work in Ireland, so as long as they have a proper visa and they do things by the book, apparently they have to, which they don't anyway, using international protection as an excuse to get here is wrong and should not be tolerated. The vast majority of people claiming international protection here are not fleeing wars but are economic migrants. They are coming from countries in poorer continents looking for a new life. And there is nothing wrong with that so long as you do it by the book, apparently. Anyone who lands here without a passport or visa should be sent on the next plane home. Yeah, straight away. They should not be allowed to even go to the International Protection Office and immediately return to wherever they came from, which makes more sense. I don't get into America without a visa, so why should they be admitted here? Yeah, makes sense. The government and specifically the Department of Justice have not been enforcing the so-called rules, which they haven't for a long time. There have been little or no deportations of those who landed illegally here over the coming years up until now. Plus, there are thousands of people who were refused international protection in Ireland and they have just assumed that they have left the country when they haven't. So they're just out there hiding somewhere. I know it sounds the same, but believe me when I tell you they have no record of them leaving the country, yet they are claiming they have. Plus, our Department of Justice has been incompetent for years. Alan Shatter tried to sort it out, but met with resistance from the Permanent Civil Service, as he called it. They are a law among themselves and accountable basically to no one, it seems. The government has powers apparently to ensure tents will not reappear on Mount Street, Taoiseach says. New EU asylum pact could lead to a destitution and increased detention. They won't do nothing about it anyway. The current minister, Helen McEntee, is proving to be an absolute disaster. Harris will regret the day that he did not fire her. Mr. O'Gorman should also get the boot. Now, the whole immigration crisis is causing severe jitters on both the Fianna Fáil and the Fine Gael backbenchers, and I predict it will eventually bring down this government sooner rather than later. It's going to happen anyway. The people are wondering how the hell can they keep accommodating these poor people when we can't even get houses for our own Irish and the homeless and our veterans. On top of that, our relatives and loved ones are being screwed to the wall, paying scandalously high prices in the dog-eat-dog rental market and providing and subsidising for these illegal immigrants. There are genuine fears, especially in the West, that if the migration crisis is not stopped and dealt with, it will change the fabric of everyday life in rural Ireland. True facts. This is something that the Dublin-based minister don't or will not ever get to grips with or even sort this issue out, full stop. If the government wants to really know what people are thinking, they should start listening to the likes of Matty McGrath, Michael McNamara, and Michael Healy-Rae and Michael Collins. It was Taoiseach that was basically commandeering one of the army barracks in Dublin and moving these migrants out of their tents and in there where they had beds and showers, etc. So apparently they couldn't care less if the top brass in the army are against it. I would be telling them as an order, this basically is what would have been happening. So the military have more brass balls than the government themselves to sort this problem out. So at the end of the day, why can't the government and the politicians follow the same example as the military? Right, so that's it. It is what it is. So please like, subscribe, and follow. And if you want more